All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. I'm the brother Yashar. I just want to get into a quick topic through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah. Yahweh being the Most High, who the world ignorantly calls God, through his only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, two so-called black men. And I just want to get into a quick topic. I was going to do it on something else, but then the Spirit just led me to Genesis 22, and I didn't read this in a minute, so I started reading it, and it's just the thoughts in my mind of Abraham's faith, man. It was something very serious, and something even to this day that you go that you should take heed to, that you should take heed to, because Abraham, our forefather, that received the promise from the Most High. All right, he was willing to sacrifice his very own son, which is Isaac. All right, because he believed so much in the Most High, in the promises, in knowing that that one day a marvelous kingdom and that his people, all right, is going to flourish, And in these days when all else fails, as far as things that pertain to this lifetime, this time, when it seems like all hope is gone, all right, we always could come back and rely on the scriptures, the good news, the hope, the everlasting hope, that desire for the new world, for righteousness, for Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah to rule, which they are already ruling, all right, because the scriptures say he ruleth in the kingdom of men, but for the Lord to take down his devil, the Edomites, all right, which is the so-called white man, and usher in our kingdom. And we at the door. So when you read these type of accounts, because the scriptures say, that's why the scriptures also say, blessed is he that readeth, that are written. Where am I? This is Romans 15 and verse 4. It says, for whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, all right? So the things in the Old Testament, all right, even in the New Testament, because they happened thousands of years ago, and, things that didn't happen, that's going to happen according to the biblical, the Bible, It says they were written for our learning, that we through patience means to suffer, all right? Suffer the things that we're going through, and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. You see that? So like I said, when all else seems to fail, so to speak, all right, the scriptures, you can always come back to the scriptures for comfort, for faith building, all right, and correction, Go listen to the videos, listen to the apostles, learn about your history, learn about your heritage, which is what? We are the Israelites, and we got promises that was given to our forefathers and is passed down to the Lord's people, which is Yasharallah, So let's look at this account of Abraham and the faith that he had. This is that he still has, And it came to pass after these things that the Most High did tempt Abraham. And to tempt him is to test him. The Lord was like, let me see where his faith lies, And said unto him, Abraham. And he said, behold, here I am. And he said, take now thy son, thy only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. Okay? Now verse 3, and Abraham rose early in the morning. Now it don't give you what how Abraham was feeling at that night, but only one could imagine. But it's gonna. I got another scripture that I'm gonna get, because even though, he woke up early in the morning to do what he had to do, he's still a man, and it just one can only imagine the thoughts like, dang, my son. But this is where his faith kicks in heavily. It says, and he said. And you gotta account that men was, the mental of a man back then was way stronger than what it is now. Less emotional, testosterone flowing, but at the same time, this is his beloved son. It says, and he said, take now thy son, thy only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. And Abraham rose early in the morning and saddled his ass and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up and went unto the place which the Most High had told him. Then on the 3rd day, so it was a long journey because it took 3 days, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place afar off. And Abraham said unto his young men, abide ye here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship and come again to you. So he telling his servants, just fall back right here for a minute. We're going to go handle some business. All right, we're going to go worship. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it upon Isaac his son, and he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and they both went up together. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father, and said, my father. And he said, here I am, my son. And he said, behold, the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? So Isaac is peeping game like, what's going on, pops? We got the wood, we got the knife. Where's the lamb for the burnt offering? So even in that, in the process of him doing that, speaking as a man, that's a serious situation. That's a tough situation, But the faith that Abraham has is so serious that he's gonna do what he has to do. His mind is already made up, even if he's feeling some type of way, It says, and Abraham said, my son, the Most High will provide him a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went both of them together. And they came to the place which the Most High had told him of. And Abraham built an altar there and laid the wood in order and bound Isaac, his son. He grabbed him up, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. Abraham, being a strong man, grabbed up his own son and laid them up for the sacrifice. And Abraham stretched forth his hand and took the knife to slay his son. You see that? All right, man, the Lord said I got to do this. I'm going to have to do what I got to do. But we're going to see Abraham's thoughts, even in the midst of that. And the angel of Yahweh called unto him out of heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. He said, here I am. And he said, lay not thy hand upon the lad, neither do anything unto him, for now I know that thou fearest the Most High, Yahweh, seeing that thou hast not withheld thy son, thy only son from me. So the Most High looking down from heaven, like you was willing to give up your beloved son, someone that's dear to you, So he passed that test of faith, it says that Abraham lifted up his eyes. So like he already, look, he got it, you know? So Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering instead of his son, because he already passed that test. All right? He was faithful even unto the point of sacrificing his own son. And that's a serious thing. And we got to apply that to these times where, you know, brothers that got families, all right? They might, you know, Esau, because, you know, that, listen, our ultimate test is that our trial of faith that's coming is that MOTB, all right? The mark of the beast that's written about in Revelation 13 and 16. Whether we going with, let me know what? Let me get it. Let me get this. Revelation 3 and verse 10. Yep. Because this is Yahushua speaking, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation. The hour of temptation is that charagma, man, that mark. That's going to be made mandatory throughout the whole world, all right? If you within this grid, all right, you will be tested with that mark, all right? That's why everything is turning digital, all right? CBDCs over there in Europe is going to be mandatory soon, or I don't know if they already started it, or you gotta be able to, you gotta have a digital ID to even work, all right? And that's just going to lead, it's called gradualism, all right? It's going to trickle over here eventually, all right? And then everybody's going to be tested. And that's the trial of our faith, all right? It says, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth, all right? So if we want to have that faith like Abraham, because going back to the point I was trying to make, this devil could, listen, man, you take this chip, man. Oh, you know, you kill your kid in front of you. Oh, cause he gonna go all out. You know, your family, like the apostle would say, your wife might take it and have your kids take it. What you gonna do? Oh, are you gonna fold too and take it with him? No, you gotta have that faith. All right, you gotta understand, like the Lord gonna bring him back, or the Lord, if they get put to death, the Lord will raise him back up. Or I see him in the kingdom. You know? Scripture says, strive for the truth unto death, even for your own life. You know? So, you keep in mind the faith of Abraham. You know? And it says this, this is what Abraham was thinking. This was his mindset. Even though if he felt some way in the flesh, because we in the flesh, we men, you know, who want to see their children die? You know? What I'm looking for. Slakia. Hebrews 11 and verse 17. It says, by faith, Abraham, when he was tried, when he was tested, offered up Isaac. And he that had received the promises offered up his only begotten son, of whom it was said that in Isaac thy seed shall be called, accounting that the Most High was able to raise him up, even from the dead, from whence also he received him in a figure. So Abraham already had the mind, like the Lord could raise him back up. He believed that wholeheartedly. Let me get this in the NLT. I was just reading it. It says, it was by faith that Abraham offered Isaac as a sacrifice when the Most High Yahweh was testing him. Abraham, who had received God's promises, you see that, was ready to sacrifice his only son, Isaac. So that was his mindset. Fuck it. You know? It is what it is. The Lord already promised me what he promised me. I know the Lord gonna raise him back up, if anything, because through him through Isaac shall thy seed be called. You know, because the blessing went on from Abraham on down to Isaac on down to Jacob, and Jacob's name was changed to Israel, which hence we come from. It says it was by faith that Abraham. It was by faith, Slakia, that Abraham offered Isaac as a sacrifice when the Most High was testing him. Abraham, who had received God's promises, was ready to sacrifice his only son, Isaac, even though the Most High had told him, Isaac is the son from whom your descendants will be counted. Abraham reasoned that if Isaac died, the Most High was able to bring him back to life. You see that? So that's what he was thinking about, you know? And in a sense, Abraham did receive his son back from the dead. It was by faith that Isaac's promised blessings for the future to his sons, Jacob and Esau, and ultimately the blessing of the kingdom and the rulership of this earth is going to go to the Israelites. All right, that everlasting covenant of us being that sovereign nation and the nations under us. You know. And all it takes is faith, man. You gotta believe. Why you think we out there on the corners for our health? And hey, it is for our health because we want to be saved. All right, we want to be delivered. We want our spirits to make it to them new bodies. You know, we don't want to get burnt up through nuclear fire because we know these things is coming down the pipeline. You know. So, you know, just a quick account on Abraham's faith and something to always ponder on in these last days, you know? So with that,